Hey, what is going on Facebook? What is going on, everybody? It's the official Solar Cameron. If you guys don't know my content, you should definitely check it out. But I've got today here my friend Enzo, closest friend, kind of grew up together. So super excited to have him on the podcast. For you guys that are watching on Facebook, I'll be uploading this to YouTube later and everything like that. So, and I'm sure that Enzo will also have some of his own video and audio for it as well. So if you guys catch this later on Facebook, just comment #replay. But like I said, it'll go up later. It's sponsored by A Minute Past 8. If you guys want to go follow them on Instagram, it's A Minute Past 8. But I'm excited, dude.
I'm excited.
I know
yeah,
that
absolutely.
we've been planning this for like
a little while now, yeah,
a month or so.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, but kind of go ahead and get started. Go ahead and just kind of tell us a little bit in short detail what you just kind of who you are.
Absolutely, yeah. My name's Enzo, like Cameron said. It's my birth name. I make music. I'm from Salt Lake City, this beautiful city that we grew up in. I make hip hop music, as you know. Yeah, man, I'm here. I'm excited. Hopefully, we can have a good time and a good conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got a little something at the very end for you guys that we kind of wanted to share and announce. So it will be
Absolutely.
super nice for him. But let's go ahead and get into this. So since we do have a little bit of limited time, we are just going to kind of skip some of the original questions that we wanted, but kind of touch on the key ones that we wanted to do. What drew you into creating music?
Wow, that's a great question. Where do I start? I mean, I'm thinking I could take you back to, growing up as an older brother. For me, like, music was always, I always had to be kind of the head of the household in a sense, not growing up with a dad and things like that. So what drew me to music, obviously, aside from the fact that just, the entertainment aspect of it and, was the expression, right? It was always, you always have the fun songs, the club songs and that side of it, but it was always a way of expressing however you felt at that moment. So for me, it was very much an outlet, growing up, in a sense that I didn't necessarily have anyone to speak to, maybe. So I kind of used that, at the very beginning to kind of express myself growing up and kind of put a lot of those thoughts into my music, growing up. I mean, many idols, of course, but looking back, I look at somebody like Jay-Z, where they were always able to reflect their life in their music and essentially show you what they're going through as time goes by. And so that was always a big inspiration for me.
Gotcha. So to just kind of follow up on that, was this kind of just something as like your first passion, or just something like from an early age that you knew like this is something that I want to follow?
So growing up, I mean, I love playing. I grew up playing soccer and basketball, right? So it was always on and off on both, through the seasons with both of those sports. So those were, I would say, really growing up, I guess my first passion. But really, when music more so came into my life and I started paying attention towards lyrics and things like that, and I actually started writing poetry, in ninth grade. And so as soon as that came into my life, it kind of took over. And I to be honest, I kind of started losing focus in a lot of these sports oriented things. And I still did them for like a really long period of time. But at that moment, I in hindsight, there was kind of a shift, and that, kind of took priority for me. So, but yeah, soccer and basketball was definitely my first kind of passions growing up, for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I even remember like we would
Yeah,
play
absolutely.
the football and the basketball. We'd
Right,
have
right,
our so that was always fun. It's like they said, we grew up together, so it was definitely. Oh yeah, I
yeah,
remember
good,
that.
good times. Yeah.
So kind of moving a little bit more into the a little more into the business side of things. Like, what's your future plans? Just kind of over like the next 6 months, 1 year, and 5 years, and kind of what are you doing right now to kind of put that into action and make that a reality?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we touched briefly on this, like, just off camera, but, um, we've been building with, with the team as far as, uh, essentially wanting to put together a foundation to what, who Enzo is as an artist, and, um, essentially in putting together that foundation to hopefully have a body of work for people to, when they run into my music, have something to hold on to, in that sense. So we've been building that from the ground up. So I would say just over this last year, we've taken certain steps to kind of progress, even if it's not 0 to 100, but it's slowly been growing, and then um, people are starting to catch on, which is really cool. On the other side, as far as like you said, the business side, obviously marketing plays a big role. How we're going to put ourselves out there and things like that. So that's something that we've been definitely going over with the team. Figuring out different ways to get our music out there, get in touch with different people on Instagram. Obviously, Instagram is a big hub for anything media wise, right? So
Yeah, for
so
sure.
that's a big one for me. I love Instagram because it just allows you to interact with people, and it brings people into your world a little bit. Obviously, it's still a capsule, right? But I think it gives people. I try to share as much as possible in a healthy manner, obviously, and
Right.
try not to get too caught up, but also make sure that we're showing also what we're doing. Obviously, like things like this, where take steps to grow and have these conversations and go from there.
Right, right. So I know that you said that hip hop was kind of like your genre. Um, what do you kind of want to make your legacy to be through that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Man, so again, just look, some of the people I look up to, I look up to the Jays, the Coles, the Drakes, the Kendrick Lamars, and these are people that have essentially established themselves in an industry where they were able to move with what's the word I would say, dignity, and also were able to uh, put their whole life, I think, for people in music, and we're also able to maneuver in the industry. A lot of people, you know, are very talented, but it's also a very hard industry to maneuver in. So
Right.
I would hope to be in a position where we can scale it, and it's hard to sit here now and say, oh, I want to be up there with them, but it's those are the people that I look at. I'm like, wow, okay, I see how they did this, I see how they did that, and I respect it. I like how they move, right? And so
Right.
I would hope to, maybe even if we weren't able to get to that level, but be able to maybe mirror some of those things, and be in a position where we look back at the music and we look back at some of the accolades, hopefully in 5-10 years, and it's something that we can be proud of, not only from a business standpoint, but also from an integrity standpoint, where it's like, okay, like I respect what we've
Kind of
done
like
along the
made
way.
an
Yeah,
impact and
absolutely.
everything.
Yeah, it's big, obviously for our culture. I want to be able to represent um, the city, specifically, Salt Lake City in a big way,
Right.
because we haven't really had, unfortunately, anyone up to this point that has broken out, at least in hip hop, in that sense. And so, for me, every move that I make, every step that we're taking as far as this music, I definitely always have that in the back of my head as far as like, okay, is this something that someone would look at and see that, and it would shine a bright light on the city as well. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know that generally like hip hop in some ways can have kind of a bad
Sure, yeah.
you know, stigma with it just because of, you know, the way it relates to things and stuff like that. So I know that, you know, the music industry overall is just very tough to kind of navigate through. Like, how do you kind of fight through that, like, bad, like, how do you fight through that?
Right. Well, so I think there's a couple sides to it, right? I think, how do I say this? You know, if we look at different genres, right? I mean, I think, you know, every genre has a serious side to it and a fun, like really fun side to it. Like, you know, if I go listen to country, you know, I can listen to, I'm not super familiar, but you know, a more classical country song, but then I could also go listen to Red Cup, you know what I mean? And it's a fun song about drinking with your boys, you know, but it's a country song, right? And so I think obviously within rap, it obviously has that. I think it's also a double-edged sword because in a sense, I think what draws people to it is what can also scare some people to it, which is the fact that it's so raw and honest. You know, I remember J. Cole had a song like he says, I want to go to the club and get my dick rubbed. And it's like, whoa, like, why would you say that? But to be honest, that's how people think, right? And it's like, and so growing up, you listen to that and you're like, wow, like, that's harsh. That might be like something strong to say, but then you think about it, you're like, yeah, that's something that's people live that every weekend, right? And so like, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So I've always interpreted it in the sense that, okay, is it honest and what is your motive, right? Because there are a lot of songs that glorify certain things, you know what I mean? And I think there's a time and place for those things as well. I just think it's about balance, right? I think if you're able to find make fun songs that people can relate to, but then also have other cuts where people can relate on a more personal level, I think that's important as well. So that's how I see it.
Gotcha. So I know that. So I kind of wanted to shift a little bit more towards bringing some extra value to the audience and everything like that. So I know that with like doing like working on your dream as well and everything like that, like, you know, I'm sure that, you know, there's you know, you definitely have to have money, right, to like fund your dream and stuff like that. Like what, you know, and when a lot of people look at you know, an industry such as this, or you know, for something that I do, you know, being an entrepreneur, you know, wanting to build a digital marketing agency, right? You know, I have to work a regular job, you know, for the time being to, you know, be able to put money towards, you know, being able to build that up until it, you know, finally takes over. So, like, you know, are you working like any kind of like regular job right now? And, you know, how are you kind of, you know, navigating with that to kind of make time? You know, what you're doing right now.
Absolutely. So yeah, man, I mean, I've worked a few different jobs, you know, just in this journey as far as right now. I actually just worked, I was working at Larry H. Miller, Toyota, you know, helping with the internet sales department there. As of right now, I'm kind of really in a good position where we're starting to see some of some profit coming in from some of the streaming from the music, which is really cool. And then of course on the side, you know, I'm actually not working like a full-time job right now, but I am working part-time. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so kind of just what you've built already, you know, it's allowed you to kind of shift. Into just kind of
it's starting, you know,
and we're putting more time into it.
Absolutely. And you know, just like anybody else, you know, doing the DoorDash, you know, and just grinding, you know what I mean, just trying to find ways to make sure the money's there. Like you said, I mean, we talk about this a lot with the team, you know, which is either way you slice it, there's gonna have to be some type of sacrifice, and you're gonna have to sacrifice money or time, excuse me, maybe doing something you don't necessarily want to, to be able to fund what we really want to do. So that we're
Yeah,
set there for sure.
kind of learning to be a little bit more comfortable or uncomfortable, short term to be comfortable
Absolutely.
long term, because long term, that's just what's gonna matter, at the end. Um, which is awesome. So kind of moving forward from that, and this can just be kind of like a yes or no question, but are you kind of like working with someone like, 50-50 as like a business
Partnership. Not at the moment. I've actually had a couple people approach me about doing that. People from out of state actually, and it just hasn't been the right scenario. Yeah, I think also part of it is it's still really early. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like I said, we're still building that foundation. So I think we're heading towards a point that things hopefully will be looking better. But yeah, we've had a couple of those conversations, and like I said, I just haven't felt like it's the right moment or situation right now. So right now we're definitely working just independently with the team. You know what I mean? My our Amel is helping us a lot with some of the management things and things like that. So yeah, we're definitely moving towards some of those situations.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So I know that you mentioned that you have a team. Just kind of tell me a little bit about them.
Man, I go name by name, but you got Rudy, who's he's behind the cameras here, but incredible with video and photography and all these things, and Amel, who I've known a long time and just is super, just I think he has a good eye for business and discipline in that scope of things. Will, someone who just off the fact that he just supports and just his energy and what he brings to the table as far as music, I'll let him explain that. But he and we just have different people doing different things, and I'm pretty lucky to have, even though we all come from maybe similar situations and things like that, we all were also came up a little bit different, and our how do I say this, our interests were a little bit different. So we have different trains of thoughts, different ways of thinking, which I think is good. It's healthy because it gives us perspective, and it allows us to be able to, when we're looking at, hey, what song should we put out, or what should we name the song, or what's the next move? I think it allows us to be able to have a pretty good scope of things as far as what should be the next move for sure. So I'm really lucky in that aspect for sure.
Gotcha. So kind of moving towards the end here, because I know that we're almost running out of time here. What trials have you kind of like been through that you've kind of overcome?
I'm gonna cut you off. Chris as well. Chris on the engineering side with the music, he helps mix master. And also shout out Chance as well, and he'll know who he is. Even though he's not necessarily part of this team, he's played a big role in some of the music too. So yeah, for sure. Sorry, so go ahead.
I know you're good. Sometimes that happens. You're just like random thought pops up. You're like, oh, I forgot this. But as I was saying, like, what trials have you kind of just like overcome, or that you've kind of been through, and like if there was anything that just like you're like, is this even worth still pursuing?
Wow. That's a good question. So, there was
or have you like, or if you haven't kind of like reached that breaking point, like.
No, I like the question because it's tough to answer because it's true. But there was a time where I definitely thought about maybe not going into it because it just sounds so like ludicrous almost, right? It's like, okay, well, here's this guy from Salt Lake City that wants to has these big plans, and so for a long time, part of that journey was, or part of the fear really was, well, A was how I was going to be perceived, maybe by some of the people that were around me. Uh, Maybe even taking into account church perspectives and things like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I did grow up with a mom
that kind of had some like strong like.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too was working on my craft, where to the point where I felt like, wow, okay, like I'm really comfortable, you know. And so for a long time I was really shy about it. To be honest, I didn't even like talking about it with people. I didn't even like sharing that I made music, because it was this personal thing that I just kind of had. And then I had a conversation. I don't remember who it was. It was somebody at an old job, and they said, "Hey man, I mean, look," it was an older person, and they just said, "Dude, you're young right now, and what do you got to lose? Like, I mean, you know, if you fail, you fail. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You still have time. You know, you can go back to school. You can go do whatever you want to do if all fails. But chase your dream. You know, you have the opportunity right now, and why not? So when I started looking at it like that, I think it kind of flipped the switch, and that's when I started taking it seriously. Starting last year, you know, we dropped Go Crazy and Kid and Play and some of these songs with the help of Chris, and that's when I think it would start to take off in that sense. So, but yeah, before that, it was more of a mental thing where I had to just get myself out of that and think, man, this might be unrealistic, but it could be realistic. So we got to look at it like it's possible.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right. Awesome. What's one piece of advice that you'd just kind of give to yourself, your past self, just like starting out, knowing what you know now?
Don't care. Yeah, like just don't care. Because the moment, even tying it back, the moment I stopped really caring about how I was going to be perceived as this rapper, you know what I mean? Whatever that connotation was the moment I was able to really be me, and like, okay, I feel like this is me, this has been me, but I haven't felt comfortable. So it's like, okay, and it really had nothing to do with me and all to do with how I thought somebody else would view me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so
someone else's opinion.
Right. And so, I had to get to a point where it was like, man, these people aren't going to feed me. You know what I mean? These people aren't going to make me happy. So that I think that, don't care and just, it's a cliche thing now, but just do what makes you happy. You know?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Just kind of a quick question, it's just going to be a little bit of a simple answer. Like, what's your preferred medium of social media? Like what platform do you like using the most, other than, of course, like SoundCloud or Spotify? Or...
Right. Well, obviously for the music, but I would say Instagram, right? Just because I love the visual aspect of it. But I'm not gonna lie, I love Twitter. Like, I love just getting on Twitter. I think it's like super entertaining. I think it's almost like a hub of news for things that you like. So it's almost like this weird like connection. And I think the part of Twitter that I also like is the fact that people chime in, right? Whereas like Instagram, like, you see a cool post, obviously you comment or someone comments back, whatever, you know what I mean? But Twitter it's more of a conversation, and for better or for worse, whether a lot of them are a little bit ignorant sometimes, I think that makes for A, entertainment, and B, just good conversations that you'll see online. So I think I like Twitter a lot.
All right, gotcha. So to finally kind of wrap things up before we just kind of, spill the beans on something exciting that we wanted to share with you guys, what aspect of yourself, would you want to, you want to keep in your like future endeavors moving forward? Like, if there's one thing that you didn't want to change that is like, this is it, like what would that one thing be?
Always the integrity. I think, we have these conversations and how do we maneuver and like I said earlier, making good fun music, but also making something that we're proud of, right? And so right. I pride myself in hopefully being able to be ambidextrous in that sense, where I can kind of juggle both and be able to create meaningful songs, you know what I mean, and things that people will grab onto, and also fun songs that people might play at a club or something. So yeah, so I think the integrity part, I think that's a big thing for me, especially being an older brother, like I said, hopefully being a good example for my brothers, and my mom being, one of my role models, of course, uh, her values and things that she's instilled in me, she always makes, or I always look at her as somebody that I would want to, make proud as well. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's definitely a big deal for sure.
Awesome. So before we go ahead and finally finish, how can like people reach out to you, or like how can they find your music? Like,
so Instagram, Valley Boy Zoe, Twitter, Valley Boy Zoe, Facebook, Enzo Dennett. If you go on Spotify, type in Enzo, my song "Go Crazy," where I'm at, I should pull up there. Apple Music, same thing. So, feel free to follow me on any of those platforms, and yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, it's been a pleasure to do this Facebook Live. It's definitely just kind of the first like live interview that I've done, but to do it with my close friend here, super
Absolutely.
exciting. Is there something exciting that you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a project on the way right now. So that's the first person outside of our team to know. So in December I'll be dropping an album or mixtape, whatever you guys want to call it.
I personally like mixtape better.
Yeah, mixtape sounds good. So December. I don't want to put a date out there yet, but yeah, December I'm gonna be dropping a project. And it's gonna be fun.
Well, awesome. I'm super excited to hear it. If you guys haven't checked out his music, I would definitely recommend him doing so. Super good. But anyways, thanks for watching. Any final last words that you'd want to add or say?
No, thank you for doing this with us. Obviously, this is the first time we do this, so it means a lot. And obviously for yourself as well. Hopefully, I just wish luck to, I always appreciate people just grinding, trying to get out of where they're from and trying to make something out of themselves maybe in a non-orthodox way. So
Right.
So I definitely respect what you're doing. So I'm a fan for sure. So thank you again.
Well, I appreciate it. All right, guys. If this has provided any kind of value to you, please share it. It would mean the world to me, but also more to him, though. For the content, and then we're going to be having his friend Will here in just a moment join us, so go ahead and check back in a little bit. We'll catch you guys later.